The German shepherd's claws were bleeding, but he would not stop. Thunder had been scratching at the round oak door for 23 minutes straight, his desperate whines piercing through the frozen December air. His handler, Officer Mai Nguyen, pulled at his leash with both hands, her boots sliding on the icy ground. "Thunder, heel!" she commanded. "Heel!" He ignored her. In 4 years of service, he had never ignored her. Snow fell heavy around the Hobbit house, coating its whimsical curved roof in white. The structure looked like something from a fairy tale, nestled into the artificial hill in Dr. Robert Harrison's backyard. Christmas lights twinkled from the main mansion behind them. Thunder's bark turned into something else, a sound Mai had never heard from him before. It sounded almost human. It sounded like crying. And somewhere beneath that beautiful playhouse, Mai could have sworn she heard someone crying back. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments along with the city you're watching from now. Let's continue with the story. Thunder had not always carried such sorrow in his eyes. The 6-year-old German shepherd weighed 85 pounds of pure muscle and instinct, his black and tan coat thick against Colorado winters. But it was his eyes that told his story, deep brown pools that seemed to hold a grief too heavy for any creature to bear. 1 year ago, Thunder had watched his partner die. Ranger, his littermate and fellow K-8 officer, had taken 3 bullets during a drug raid gone wrong. The suspects had opened fire, and Ranger had done what he was trained to do. He had thrown himself between the bullets and Thunder, his body absorbing the rounds meant for his brother. Thunder had stayed with the Ranger until the end, licking his face as the light faded from his eyes. Since that night, Thunder slept beside Ranger's empty kennel. He carried Ranger's old collar in his mouth during patrols. And whenever he heard gunfire, even distant thunder during storms, he would freeze and whimper like a puppy. Officer Mai Nguyen understood loss. At 34, she was the first female canine handler in Denver's history, and the first Vietnamese American in the unit. She had earned her position through excellence, graduating top of her class at the academy. But excellence meant nothing to colleagues who saw only her foreign face. "Go back to your country," had been scrawled on her locker last month. The department had done nothing. Mai had been abandoned at a Saigon orphanage when she was 7 years old. An American family from Colorado had adopted her, giving her a new life, a new name, a new chance. She had grown up knowing what it meant to be saved, and she had sworn to spend her life saving others. Her salary of $52,000 barely covered her apartment rent and Thunder's veterinary bills. 6 months ago, someone had poisoned Thunder's water bowl at the station. Mai had caught it just in time, but the treatment had cost $3,000 she did not have. She was still paying off that debt. Now she stood in Cherry Creek, Denver's wealthiest neighborhood, where homes cost more than she would earn in a lifetime. To Robert Harrison's estate sprawled across 2 acres of manicured grounds, his mansion glowing with warmth and Christmas cheer. Harrison was Denver's most beloved pediatrician. 3 consecutive Doctor of the Year awards hung in his office. He had donated millions to children's hospitals. His face smiled from billboards across the city. The Hobbit house in his backyard was supposedly a gift for his grandchildren. Its round door and curved walls made it look magical, like something from a storybook. But Thunder saw something else entirely. Mai watched her dog claw at that door, his whines growing more desperate, and she felt the hair rise on the back of her neck. In 4 years, Thunder had never been wrong. The night had begun like any other winter patrol. Mai and Thunder were working the late shift, cruising through Cherry Creek's pristine streets in their patrol vehicle. Snow fell in gentle flakes, coating the neighborhood in white silence. Mansions glowed with Christmas decorations, their windows revealing families gathered around fireplaces and decorated trees. It was 9:45 when Thunder suddenly stiffened in the back seat. Mai glanced in the rearview mirror. Thunder's ears had perked straight up, his entire body rigid with attention, his nose pressed against the window, nostrils flaring as he inhaled deeply. "What is it, buddy?" Mai asked. Thunder began to whine, a high-pitched sound that Mai had rarely heard from him, his tail tucked between his legs as he pawed at the door. Mai pulled over and opened the rear door before she could attach his leash. Thunder bolted. "Thunder, stop!" He ignored her command completely. In 4 years of partnership, he had never once disobeyed a direct order. Mai sprinted after him, her boots crunching on the frozen sidewalk, her breath creating clouds in the frigid air. Thunder ran with singular purpose, his powerful legs carrying him directly toward the Harrison estate. He squeezed through the iron gate and disappeared into the property. Mai followed, her heart pounding. She found Thunder at the back of the mansion, standing before the Hobbit house. His entire demeanor had changed. His hackles were raised, the fur along his spine standing straight up. His body trembled, though not from cold. Then he began to scratch at the door. His claws raked against the oak wood with desperate intensity. The sound was terrible, like fingernails on a chalkboard. But Thunder did not stop. He alternated between scratching and digging at the ground beneath the door, his paws working frantically. "Thunder, come," Mai ordered firmly. He looked at her briefly, his brown eyes wild with something she could not name, then returned to his task. His whines grew louder, more urgent. They did not sound like a dog anymore. They sounded like mourning. Mai had seen Thunder track suspects through miles of wilderness. She had watched him locate missing children in dense forests. She had witnessed him detect drugs hidden in impossible places. But she had never seen him like this. His claws began to bleed, leaving red streaks on the white-painted door. Still, he scratched. Mai grabbed her radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Nguyen. I need backup at the Harrison residence on Cherry Creek Drive. My canine is alerting to something at the property." "Copy that, Officer Nguyen. What's the nature of the alert?" Mai watched Thunder throw his body against the door, then resume his frantic scratching. His barking had become continuous, sharp bursts of sound that echoed across the quiet neighborhood. "Unknown," Mai replied, "but something's wrong. He's never behaved like this." 10 minutes later, officers Mike Torres and Dave Mitchell arrived. They found Mai still trying to pull Thunder away from the Hobbit house, with no success. Torres laughed when he saw the scene. "What's going on? When your dog chasing rabbits?" "This isn't funny," Mai snapped. "Thunder is alerting. Something's in that structure." Mitchell shook his head. "It's a playhouse, Probably smells like kids and toys. Dogs go crazy for that stuff. No, Mai insisted. I've never seen him like this. 4 years, and he's never ignored a command. The front door of the mansion opened, and Dr. Robert Harrison stepped out onto his porch. He wore an expensive cashmere robe and leather slippers, his silver hair perfectly groomed despite the late hour. His face wore an expression of polite concern. "Officers, is everything all right?" His voice was smooth, cultured, the voice of a man accustomed to authority. Mai stepped forward. "To Harrison, I apologize for the disturbance. My canine partner is alerting to your backyard structure. Would you mind if we took a look inside?" Harrison smiled warmly. "Of course, I understand. That's just a playhouse I had built for my grandchildren. Christmas gift, you know. There's nothing in there but toys and cushions." Thunder lunged toward Harrison, his bark turning vicious. Mai grabbed his collar just in time, straining to hold him back. Harrison stepped backward, his smile faltering slightly. "My goodness, that's quite an aggressive animal." "I'm sorry, sir," Mai said, struggling with Thunder's weight. "He's usually very calm." "Perhaps the cold is affecting him," Harrison suggested. "Poor thing. Why don't you all come inside for some hot tea? Warm up a bit." Torres and Mitchell exchanged glances. "That's very kind of you, Doctor," Torres said. But Mai kept her eyes on Thunder, who was still straining toward the Hobbit house, his whines growing more desperate. "To Harrison, I'd really like to check inside that playhouse, just to be thorough." Harrison's smile remained in place, but something flickered behind his eyes. "Officer, it's nearly 11 at night. The structure is locked, and I don't have the key readily available. I assure you, there's nothing inside but children's toys." He reached into his robe pocket and produced a business card. "Here's my SISB information. If you have any concerns, please contact me during business hours. I'm always happy to cooperate with our fine police department." Mai took the card. It read, "Dr. Robert Harrison, Pediatrician of the year 22, 23, 24. Torres put his hand on Mai's shoulder. "Come on, Nguyen. The doctor says it's just a playhouse. We can't search private property without cause." Mai looked at Thunder, still fixated on that round oak door. Every instinct she had screamed that something was wrong. But Torres was right. She had no legal cause. "I'm sorry for the disturbance. To Harrison," she finally said. "No trouble at all, officer." Harrison's smile returned full force. "Thank you for your diligence." As Mai dragged Thunder away, the dog looked back at the Hobbit house one final time. His howl pierced the night air, a sound of pure anguish. Mai felt it in her bones. Something was terribly wrong, and she was walking away from it. Chief William Bradley did not even let Mai finish her sentence. "You're wasting my time, Officer Nguyen," he said, leaning back in his leather chair. His office on the top floor of the Denver Police Department overlooked the city skyline, the morning sun glinting off snow-covered rooftops. "You want me to investigate Dr. Robert Harrison because your dog scratched at his playhouse?" Mai stood at attention before his desk, her uniform pressed and clean despite a sleepless night. "Sir, Thunder has never behaved that way before. In 4 years of service, he has never disobeyed a command. His alert was genuine." Bradley sighed heavily. Do you have any idea who Robert Harrison is? A pediatrician, sir. Not just any pediatrician. Bradley stood and walked to his window. Dr. Harrison donates $2 million annually to this department. $2 million? He funded our bulletproof vests. He paid for our new K-9 training facility. He hosts our charity galas at his home. Mai felt her stomach tighten. But, sir, with respect, his donations don't change what Thunder sensed. Bradley turned to face her, his expression hardening. What your dog sensed was probably a raccoon or a rabbit, or the smell of his grandchildren's toys. You want me to get a search warrant based on a dog's hunch. Thunder's instincts have solved 14 cases. Mai pressed. He found the Martinez child when everyone else had given up. He tracked the serial burglar through 3 counties. His alerts have never been wrong. There's a first time for everything. Bradley returned to his desk and sat down. I'm giving you a direct order. Officer Nguyen, you are not to contact Dr. Harrison again. You are not to go near his property. If you harass that man one more time, I will suspend you without pay. Am I clear? Mai's hands clenched at her sides. Crystal clear, sir? Good. Now get out of my office. The walk back to the KN unit felt like a march to execution. Mai kept her head high, her expression neutral, but inside she was screaming. She knew what she had seen. She knew what Thunder had sensed, and no one believed her. Torres and Mitchell were waiting by her locker, their expressions smug. They stopped talking when she approached, but their silence spoke volumes. Hey, Nguyen, Torres called as she passed. Heard you tried to arrest Santa Claus this morning. What's next? Investigating the Easter Bunny? Mitchell laughed. Maybe her dog smelled chocolate eggs. Mai ignored them and opened her locker. Someone had taped a piece of paper inside. Dog Lady was written in large black letters. Below it, someone had drawn a crude cartoon of a dog wearing a police hat. She crumpled the paper and threw it in the trash. Thunder was waiting for her in his kennel, his tail wagging hopefully. When he saw her face, he whined softly and pressed his nose against the wire mesh. Mai knelt down and stroked his fur through the gaps. I believe you, buddy, she whispered. I don't care what they say. I believe you. Thunder licked her fingers, his brown eyes meeting hers with an understanding that transcended species. In that moment, Mai felt less alone, but only for a moment. She drove home that afternoon in her 15-year-old Honda, the check engine light glowing orange on the dashboard. Her apartment was a 1-bedroom unit in a building that had seen better decades. The heating worked sporadically, and the pipes groaned like wounded animals every time she turned on the faucet. Mai sat at her kitchen table and opened her laptop. Her bank account showed a balance of $342. Her rent was due in 2 weeks. $800 she did not have. The veterinary bill from Thunder's poisoning sat on her counter. $3,000 total, of which she still owed $2,200. The monthly payment was $150, leaving her with almost nothing for food. If she got suspended, she would lose everything. Her apartment, her car, her ability to care for Thunder. They would take him from her and assign him to another handler. The thought made her chest constrict with panic. Mai walked to her bedroom and sat on the edge of her bed. On her nightstand sat a photograph in a cheap frame. A 7-year-old girl with dark hair and frightened eyes stood in front of an orphanage in Saigon. The building behind her was gray and crumbling. The children beside her thin and hollow-cheeked. That girl was her. She remembered the day the American couple had arrived. The Nguyens, who would become her parents, had traveled across the world to save a child they had never met. They had given her a home, a family, a future. They had given her everything. Someone saved me. My thought, now it's my turn to save others. But what if saving others meant losing everything? Mai looked at the clock. She had 48 hours before Bradley would make good on his threat, 48 hours to prove that Thunder was right, or 48 hours to lose it all. She picked up her phone and stared at it. Then she put it down. Then she picked it up again. "What would you do?" she asked the 7-year-old girl in the photograph. "What would you do if no one believed you?" The girl in the photo did not answer. But somewhere in Mai's heart, she already knew. Mai began her investigation that same night. She parked her Honda 3 blocks from the Harrison estate, where the street lamps cast long shadows across the snow-covered pavement. Thunder sat in the passenger seat beside her. His ears perked forward, his nose pressed against the window. Even from this distance, he knew where they were. His soft whines told Mai everything. Through her binoculars, Mai watched the Harrison mansion glow with warmth and privilege. The doctor's Mercedes sat in the circular driveway, its polished black surface reflecting the Christmas lights strung along the roofline. Inside the house, Mai could see Harrison moving past windows. His wife, Patricia, an elegant woman with silver blonde hair, sat in the living room reading a book. Their adult son, a lawyer according to public records, had visited earlier and left after dinner. The perfect American family. Mai lowered her binoculars and opened her laptop. She had spent the afternoon researching Harrison, and what she had found troubled her deeply. Dr. Robert Harrison had not always been a pediatrician. 15 years ago, he had been a veterinarian. Specifically, he had been the contracted veterinarian for the Denver Police Canine Unit. He had treated police dogs for injuries, prescribed their medications, performed their surgeries. He had intimate knowledge of canine training, behavior, and capabilities. Then, suddenly, he had switched careers, gone back to school for human medicine, specialized in pediatrics. Within a decade, he had become the most celebrated children's doctor in Colorado. Why would a successful veterinarian abandon his career to start over in human medicine? Mai stared at the information on her screen, the cursor blinking accusingly. She had no answer. Thunder whined again, his paw scratching at the car door. Mai reached over and stroked his head. "I know, buddy. I know something's wrong. We just need proof." She watched the house until midnight, when all the lights went dark. Then she drove home, her mind churning with questions that had no answers. The next night, Mai returned. This time, she had checked Harrison's public calendar, which his office maintained online for patient appointments. He was scheduled to speak at a medical conference in Colorado Springs. He would be gone overnight. Mai parked even closer this time, her heart hammering in her chest. What she was about to do could end her career. But what if she was right? What if Thunder was right? She opened the car door and attached Thunder's leash. Together, they crept toward the Harrison property. The gate was unlocked. Mai pushed it open slowly, wincing at the slight creak of the hinges. Thunder pulled ahead, his body rigid with purpose. He knew exactly where he wanted to go. The Hobbit house loomed before them in the moonlight, its whimsical shape casting strange shadows on the snow. Mai pulled out her flashlight and began circling the structure, looking for anything unusual. Thunder had already started digging. His powerful paws tore at the frozen ground behind the playhouse, sending clumps of dirt and snow flying. Mai knelt beside him, shining her flashlight into the hole he was creating. Her breath caught. Buried in the earth was a metal grate, a ventilation shaft. Mai's hands trembled as she brushed away more dirt. The grate was industrial grade, the kind used in commercial buildings. It had no business being behind a children's playhouse, unless the playhouse was not just a playhouse. Mai pressed her ear to the grate. Cold air flowed from below, carrying a scent that made Thunder growl low in his throat. The shaft went down at least 10 feet, disappearing into darkness. There was something beneath this Hobbit house, something substantial, something that required ventilation. Mai's mind raced. The playhouse was not built on a simple foundation. It was built over an underground structure. A room, maybe rooms, but why? She photographed the ventilation grate from multiple angles, making sure to capture its industrial specifications. Then she carefully covered it back with dirt and snow, erasing any sign of her discovery. Thunder did not want to leave. He stood at the Hobbit house door, his body trembling, his whines escalating. Mai had to physically drag him away, her own heart breaking at his distress. "We'll come back," she promised him. "We'll come back with a warrant." But getting a warrant would require evidence, real evidence, not just photographs of a vent. Mai drove home feeling more frustrated than ever. The email arrived at 3 in the morning. Mai had been lying awake, staring at the ceiling. When her phone buzzed, the sender address was a string of random numbers at an encrypted service. The subject line made her sit up straight. "You're not crazy. The dog knows." Mai opened the email with shaking hands. "Check his medical records. The children he saved, where are they now? 20 children treated at his private clinic in 3 years, all immigrants, all undocumented. 15 of them are transferred to other facilities. No one knows where they went. You have 72 hours. 3 more will disappear. Trust the dog." Mai immediately accessed the medical database. As a police officer, she had limited access to certain records, especially regarding missing persons cases. What she found made her blood run cold. The anonymous emailer was right. Over the past 3 years, 20 undocumented immigrant children had passed through Harrison's private clinic. All had been treated for various ailments. All had been listed as transferred to appropriate facilities in the records. But when Mai cross-referenced with Child Protective Services, she found no corresponding intake records. 15 of those children had simply vanished. No foster homes, no deportation records, no nothing. They had disappeared into thin air. Mai's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold her phone. A second email arrived at 72 hours. The next 3 are already chosen. Where? The clock is ticking. When Mai looked at Thunder, who lay on the floor beside her bed, his eyes open and alert. He had not slept either. 67 hours remaining. She had to find more evidence. Something concrete, something undeniable. At 2 in the morning, Mai made a decision that would haunt her. She drove to Harrison's medical clinic, which was closed for the night. Thunder came with her, as always. The clinic was located in a professional building downtown. Mai could not enter without triggering alarms, but she could walk Thunder around the perimeter. Thunder began alerting immediately. He sniffed at the back door with intense focus, his tail rigid, his body quivering. Then he did something that stopped Mai's heart. He sat down and howled. It was the same howl he had made when Ranger died, the same mournful, grief-stricken sound that had echoed through the warehouse that terrible night 1 year ago. Mai knelt beside him. "What is it? Buddy, what do you smell?" Thunder sniffed again, then looked at Mai with those sad brown eyes. And suddenly Mai understood. She ran back to her car and pulled out Ranger's file from her canine records. Her eyes scanned the veterinary history until she found what she was looking for. 6 weeks before the fatal drug raid, Ranger had been treated for a minor injury. The veterinarian who had prescribed his pain medication was listed clearly on the form. To Robert Harrison, Mai's blood turned to ice. The medication Harrison had prescribed was known to cause drowsiness and delayed reactions in dogs. It should never have been given to an active duty cane, but Harrison had prescribed it anyway, in high doses. Ranger had not died because he was slow. Ranger had died because he had been drugged, and Harrison had prescribed the drugs. Thunder had not just smelled the scent of frightened children in that Hobbit house. He had smelled the scent of the man who killed his brother. Mai had enough. She spread her evidence across the table in Judge Patricia Roberts' chambers. The judge, known throughout Denver as the most fair-minded and incorruptible member of the bench, studied each piece carefully. Her reading glasses perched on her nose as she examined the photographs of the ventilation shaft, the medical records showing missing children, and the veterinary prescription that had likely contributed to Ranger's death. "This is serious." "Officer Nguyen," Judge Roberts said quietly. Mai leaned forward in her chair. "Your Honor, I believe Dr. Harrison is operating a child trafficking ring. Those 15 missing children, the underground structure beneath his playhouse, his history with our canine unit, it all connects. And my canine partner's alerts have never been wrong." Judge Roberts removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "You understand what you're asking me to do? Robert Harrison is one of the most respected men in this city." "I understand, Your Honor, but those children deserve justice." The judge was silent for a long moment. Then she reached for her pen. "I'm signing this warrant. But, Officer Nguyen, if you're wrong, your career is finished. You know that." Mai nodded. "I know. But if I'm right, and I do nothing, I couldn't live with myself." Judge Roberts signed the emergency search warrant with a flourish. "Then go, and God help us all if you're right." Mai called the FBI immediately. Agent Sarah Mitchell, who specialized in human trafficking cases, listened to Mai's evidence with growing alarm. Within the hour, the Bureau had mobilized. This was no longer a local matter. This was federal. Mai finally felt hope. At 10 in the morning, 15 law enforcement officers surrounded the Harrison estate. FBI agents in tactical gear joined local SWAT team members. Mai stood at the front, Thunder at her side. The dog's body trembled with anticipation, his eyes fixed on the property he had been trying to enter for days. "This is it, buddy," Ma whispered. "We're going to finish this." Dr. Harrison opened his front door, wearing a perfectly tailored suit. His silver hair gleaming in the winter sunlight. His expression registered surprise, then concern, then something Ma could not quite identify. "Officers, what's the meaning of this?" Ma stepped forward and presented the warrant. "Dr. Harrison, we have a federal warrant to search your property. Please step aside." Harrison read the document, his face remaining calm. "This is a mistake, Officer Nguyen. A terrible mistake. But I'm a law-abiding citizen. Search whatever you like." His smile never wavered. The team moved efficiently through the property. Ma led Thunder directly to the Hobbit house, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. An agent with a crowbar approached the round oak door. "Open it," Ma ordered. The door swung open to reveal a charming interior. Cushions, traces, children's books, a small table with the tiny chairs. Everything you would expect in a grandchild's playhouse. But Thunder was not interested in the main room. He went straight to the back wall and began scratching. His claws raked against the wood paneling with desperate intensity. Ma knelt beside him and felt along the wall. Her fingers found a seam. "There's something behind here," she announced. Two agents pulled away the false wall, revealing a trapdoor with a heavy lock. Ma's pulse quickened. They broke the lock and lifted the door. Stairs descended into darkness. Ma went down first. Thunder beside her. Flashlight cutting through the black. What she found at the bottom made her stomach turn. A room approximately 50 square meters had been built beneath the playhouse. Soundproofed walls, industrial ventilation, bunk beds lined against the walls, 3 of them child-sized, a small bathroom in the corner, toys scattered on the floor, but not the happy kind. These were worn, old, forgotten. On the walls, Ma saw scratch marks. Tiny fingernails had clawed at the concrete, leaving faint but unmistakable traces. A one-eyed teddy bear lay abandoned in the corner, but it was the ledger on the small desk that destroyed her. Names, ages, prices. Sophia, 7, 2,000. Lucas, 11, 180,000. Emma, 20. The children listed like merchandise. Human beings reduced to dollar amounts. Ma wanted to vomit, but the room was empty. No children. No direct evidence of current captivity. Harrison appeared at the top of the stairs, his smile still intact. "As you can see, officer, it's just a storage room. I was planning to turn it into a wine cellar. No children here." Ma grabbed the ledger. "Then explain this." Harrison shrugged. "I have no idea what that is. I've never seen it before. Perhaps one of my workers left it." He was too keen, too prepared. Ma flipped through the ledger frantically, looking for any identifying information. The most recent entries caught her eye. 3 names, dated within the last week. Emma, Sophie, Lucas. Where are they? Ma demanded. "Where are these children?" Harrison's smile broadened. "What children, officer? I see no children." Then Ma saw something that made her blood freeze. The entry for Emma included additional notes, an address, a very familiar address. She grabbed her radio. "Chief Bradley, come in immediately." Bradley's voice crackled through. "What is it?" "Nguyen, Mai could barely form the words. "Sir, where is Emma right now? Your granddaughter, Emma?" Silence. Then, "She's at school. Why aren't you asking about my granddaughter? Check. Right now. Call the school." More silence. Mai could hear Bradley making calls in the background. When he came back on the radio, his voice had changed completely. It shook with terror. "She hasn't been in school for 2 days. They thought she was sick. Nobody told me. Oh, God, nobody told me." Mai looked at Harrison, whose smile had finally faltered, just slightly. "What have you done?" she whispered. Harrison's composure cracked for just a moment. "You should have left me alone. Chief Bradley, you investigated me 2 years ago. You made my life difficult. Did you think I would forget?" Mai understood with horrifying clarity. Harrison had taken Bradley's granddaughter as revenge. The same chief who had once investigated Harrison and dropped the case due to insufficient evidence. The same chief who had warned Mai to stay away. Bradley's voice screamed through the radio. "Where is she? Where is my Emma?" Harrison straightened his tie. "I want my lawyer and Officer Nguyen. You should know that having an empty room and a ledger of unknown origin is not enough to hold me. I'll be out before dinner." Mai wanted to shoot him. The thought was so clear, so strong, that it frightened her. "The children were moved," she said instead. Where? Harrison said nothing. FBI agent Mitchell took over. "To Harrison, you're under arrest for suspicion of child trafficking. You have the right to remain silent." But as they led him away, Harrison looked back at Mai with those cold eyes. "You have no idea what you've started, officer, and those children, they're already gone. Long gone." Mai looked at the empty bunk beds, the scratched walls, the abandoned teddy bear. 3 children were out there somewhere, and the clock was ticking. Then the weather report came through on her radio. Major winter storm approaching Denver. Largest snowfall in 20 years expected. All flights grounded. Interstate highways closing within hours. Mai looked out the small basement window at the sky. Dark clouds were gathering, heavy and ominous. 24 hours. They had maybe 24 hours before those children crossed the border into Mexico and disappeared forever. Harrison had planned this perfectly. He knew the storm was coming. He knew law enforcement would be paralyzed. He had timed everything. Thunder whined beside her, his nose still working, still searching. He pawed at the ledger, at the empty beds, at the air itself. He could smell them. Even now, he could smell their fear, their tears, their desperation. But he could not find them. And neither could Mai. She stood in that underground prison, surrounded by evidence of horror, and felt utterly, completely helpless. 24 hours. The countdown had begun. The betrayal came from within. Mai was reviewing the case files at the station when she noticed the discrepancies. Over the past 3 years, 4 separate complaints had been filed against Dr. Harrison. Anonymous tips about suspicious activity. At his clinic, concerns from social workers about missing children. Questions from immigration officials about undocumented minors. All 4 complaints had been closed without investigation. The officer who had closed them was Mike Torres. The officer who had signed off on each closure was Dave Mitchell. Mai's hands went cold. Torres and Mitchell, the same 2 officers who had mocked her, the same 2 officers who had vandalized her locker, the same 2 officers who had called her paranoid for listening to thunder. They had known all along. Mai pulled more records. Torres had received 3 large cash deposits in the past year. each for $10,000. Mitchell had paid off his mortgage 6 months ago, despite earning the same salary as Mai. Both men had worked night shifts that coincided with dates when children had disappeared from Harrison's clinic. They were not just corrupt, they were accomplices. Mai ran to Chief Bradley's office, her evidence clutched in her hands. Bradley looked up from his desk, his face still pale from learning about Emma's disappearance. "Sir, I know who's been helping Harrison," Mai said breathlessly. "Torres and Mitchell. They've been deleting complaints about him for years. They're part of his network." Bradley stared at the documents Mai spread before him. His jaw tightened as he read the financial records, the closed complaints, the timeline of their involvement. "My own men," he whispered. "My own officers." He grabbed his phone and called dispatch. "I need Torres and Mitchell brought to my office immediately, in custody." When the two officers arrived, they saw the evidence on Bradley's desk. Torres made a break for the door. Mitchell tried to delete files from the computer on Bradley's desk. Both were tackled by FBI agents who had been waiting outside. "You don't understand," Torres shouted as they handcuffed him. "Harrison has connections everywhere. You'll never stop him. He's too powerful." Mitchell shrieked at me as they dragged him past. "You stupid woman, you've just signed your own death warrant." Mai watched them being taken away and felt something inside her break. The system she had sworn to serve was rotten. The people she had trusted were monsters. She could not trust anyone, except Thunder. She walked to the canine kennel and sat beside her partner. Thunder pressed his warm body against her, sensing her distress. Mai buried her face in his fur and let herself feel the weight of the betrayal. How many other officers were involved? How deep did the corruption go? Was anyone truly trustworthy? Thunder licked her face. His answer clear. He was trustworthy, he was loyal, and he would never betray her. But even that comfort was about to be taken away. The next morning, Harrison's lawyer appeared before Judge Marcus Webb, a different judge from the one who had signed Mai's warrant. Webb was known for his lenient rulings and his close friendship with Denver's wealthy elite. "Your Honor," the lawyer argued, "my client is a respected physician with no criminal record. The evidence against him is circumstantial at best, an empty room, a ledger of unknown origin, and the accusations of a disgraced police officer. This is a witch hunt." Agent Mitchell from the FBI protested. "Your Honor, we have 15 missing children connected to Dr. Harrison's clinic." "Missing from your records?" The lawyer countered. "Perhaps they returned to their home countries. Perhaps they were placed with relatives. You have no bodies, no direct witnesses, no proof of any crime." Judge Webb nodded thoughtfully. "The court is inclined to agree. To Harrison, you are released on $5 million bail." Harrison wrote the check without blinking. Mai stood in the back of the courtroom, her nails digging into her palms. "He's going to run," she shouted. "Those children will die if you let him go." Judge Webb glared at her. "Officer Nguyen, one more outburst and I will hold you in contempt." Harrison walked out of the courtroom a free man. As he passed Mai, he paused and smiled. "A dog's bark is not evidence. Officer Nguyen, you should remember that." Mai lost control. She lunged toward him, her fists clenched. Thunder, sensing her rage, barked viciously and strained against his leash. Harrison stepped back, his smile widening. "Control your animal, officer, or I'll have it euthanized for aggressive behavior." Mai froze. The threat was clear. Chief Bradley pulled Mai aside. "Again, you need to stop. Now. He's going to disappear with those children about—" Mai pleaded. "Your granddaughter's out there somewhere." "I know," Bradley said, his voice breaking. "But you can't assault a civilian in open court. I have no choice. You're suspended pending investigation. Hand over your badge and weapon." Mai's world collapsed. She removed her badge slowly, feeling its weight for the last time. She handed over her service weapon. Each item felt like a piece of her soul being torn away. "And Thunder," Bradley continued, not meeting her eyes. He has to stay. He's department property." "No," Mai whispered. "Please, not Thunder." "I'm sorry. It's protocol." Mai knelt beside Thunder and wrapped her arms around him. The dog whined, sensing something terrible was happening. He licked her tears as they fell. "I'm sorry, buddy," Mai sobbed. "I failed you. I failed everyone." Thunder pressed his head against her chest, his warm breath on her neck. His brown eyes looked into hers with trust and love, even as she was being forced to leave him behind. An officer took Thunder's leash. Mai watched as her partner, her best friend, her only ally, was led away. Thunder looked back at her, his tail tucked, his whines echoing through the station. Mai walked out of the police department and into the falling snow. Her badge was gone, her gun was gone, her job was gone. Thunder was gone. She had nothing left. She sat in her old Honda in the parking lot, the engine silent because she could not afford gas. Snow accumulated on the windshield, slowly burying her in white darkness. She had no money for rent, no job, no future. The photograph in her wallet showed her at age 7, standing in front of the Saigon orphanage, abandoned, alone, forgotten. She felt that way again. "Maybe I should just give up," she thought. "Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just a crazy woman with a crazy dog." But then she remembered Ranger's file, the report from his last handler before he died. The words written in that final entry haunted her. Ranger's final act was to protect his partner. His last breath was spent saving another, protect the innocent. That was what he lived for. That was what he died for. Protect the innocent. Mai looked at the photograph of Thunder she kept beside the orphanage picture. His loyal face stared back at her. 3 children were still out there. Emma, Sophia, Lucas. Innocent children who needed someone to fight for them, even if that someone had nothing left to lose. Especially if that someone had nothing left to lose. Mai wiped her tears and stared at the snow falling outside her window. The darkest moment of her journey had arrived, but dawn was coming. The phone rang at 7 in the morning. Mai had spent the night in her car, parked outside her apartment building because she could not bear to sit alone in her empty home. The snow had stopped falling, but the city lay buried under 2 feet of white. The storm had passed over Denver, but it had left its mark. She looked at her phone. Unknown number. Mai almost ignored it. What was the point? She had lost everything, but something made her answer. Officer Nguyen. The voice was female, trembling, barely above a whisper. "Who is this?" "My name is Patricia Harrison. I'm Robert's wife." Mai sat up straight, her heart suddenly pounding. Mrs. Harrison, I don't think you should be calling me. Please, listen, I know where the children are. The world stopped spinning. What did you say? Mai's voice cracked. The three children, Emma, Sophia, Lucas. I know where they're being held. They're in Phoenix, Arizona, a warehouse on 5th Street. Robert has partners there. They're waiting for the storm to clear before moving them across the border to Mexico. Mai's hands shook so badly she could barely hold the phone. How do you know this? Why are you telling me? Silence. Then a sob. I've known about Robert's activities for 5 years. He threatened to kill our son if I ever spoke. I was a coward. I kept silent while children suffered. I told myself I couldn't stop him, that he was too powerful, that I had to protect my own family. Patricia's voice broke completely. But then I saw Emma when Robert brought her to the house before moving her. She has blonde hair, blue eyes. She looked exactly like our daughter did at that age. And I just couldn't stay silent anymore. Mai realized something. You sent those anonymous emails. You were warning me. Yes, I was too afraid to come forward openly. But I had to do something. You were the only one who believed something was wrong. You and that dog. Mrs. Harrison, I need you to give me everything, every detail, addresses, names, account numbers, everything. Patricia talked for 20 minutes straight. She gave Mai the exact location of the Phoenix warehouse. She provided the names of Harrison's accomplices across 3 states. She revealed bank account numbers in the Cayman Islands where millions of dollars from child trafficking sat waiting. She described the entire operation, from recruitment to transport to sale. 5 years of silence poured out in a flood of information. I've transferred all the evidence to an encrypted file. Patricia said, I'm sending it to your email now. Bank transfers, receipts, photographs, everything. It's enough to put Robert away for the rest of his life. Why now? Mai asked. After all these years, why now? Because of you. Because you didn't give up. Because your dog knew the truth and you believed him. Because someone had to stop this horror and I was too weak to do it alone. Mai heard the email notification ping on her phone. Mrs. Harrison, you realize what this means. You'll have to testify. You'll lose everything. I've already lost everything that matters. Patricia replied quietly. My soul died 5 years ago when I chose silence. Maybe this will help me find it again. She hung up. Mai opened the email and downloaded the files. What she saw made her gasp. Patricia had documented everything, financial records showing millions of dollars flowing through shell companies, photographs of children in the underground room, communications between Harrison and his network. It was overwhelming, undeniable evidence. Mai immediately called FBI agent Sarah Mitchell. Agent Mitchell, I have the location of the children, and I have evidence that will shut down the entire operation. Mitchell's voice was urgent. Send me everything, now. Mai forwarded the files, her fingers flying over her phone screen. Then she made one more call. Chief Bradley answered on the first ring. His voice sounded hollow, broken. Sir, I know where Emma is. Silence. Then a choked sound that might have been a sob. Where? Tell me where my granddaughter is. Mai gave him the Phoenix address. FBI is mobilizing now. They can reach Phoenix before the children are moved. But, sir, I need Thunder. I need to be there. Bradley was quiet for a moment. Then, come to the station. I'm reinstating you immediately. And take Thunder. He deserves to finish what he started." Mai drove to the police station faster than she had ever driven before. Bradley met her at the door, Thunder's leash in his hand. The German shepherd saw Mai and went wild with joy, his tail wagging furiously, his body wiggling with happiness. Mai dropped to her knees and threw her arms around him. Thunder licked her face, whining with relief. "I'm sorry," she whispered to him. "I should never have left you. We're going to finish this together." Bradley's face was wet with tears. "I was wrong about you, Officer Nguyen. I was wrong about everything. My stubbornness, my arrogance, my trust in the wrong people. It almost cost me my granddaughter." Mai stood up. "Don't apologize to me, sir. Apologize to the children you almost failed to save." Bradley nodded, shame written across his features. "Just bring her home. Please bring Emma home." The FBI had arranged emergency transport. Despite the storm damage, a helicopter was waiting to take Mai and Thunder to Denver International Airport, where a jet would fly them directly to Phoenix. The storm had not touched Arizona. 6 hours remained before the children would be moved. Mai and Thunder boarded the jet alongside FBI tactical teams. Thunder lay at Mai's feet, calm now, his mission clear. His brown eyes held a determination Mai had never seen before. "We're going to save them, buddy," Mai said. "We're going to save them all." The jet landed in Phoenix at 2 in the afternoon local time. The Arizona sun blazed overhead, a stark contrast to the snow-covered Denver they had left behind. 4 hours remained. FBI tactical units surrounded the warehouse on 5th Street. It was a nondescript building in an industrial area, the kind of place no one would look twice at, the perfect hiding spot for children who had been stolen. Mai and Thunder were given special permission to participate. Thunder had earned this moment. He had started this mission, and he would see it through. "On my count," the team leader announced. 3, 2, 1, go! Agents crashed through the doors. Shouts filled the air. 6 men inside the warehouse tried to flee but were quickly subdued. Mai heard the sound of handcuffs clicking, of rights being read, of justice finally being served. But she was not interested in the criminals. She followed Thunder, who raced toward the back of the warehouse, his nose leading him unerringly forward. A heavy door stood at the rear of the building. Thunder scratched at it frantically, his whines desperate. An agent broke down the door. Mai shined her flashlight into the darkness beyond. 3 small faces looked up at her. Emma, 8 years old, blonde hair tangled, blue eyes wide with terror. Sophia, 7 years old, clutching a torn blanket. Lucas, 11 years old, standing protectively in front of the younger girls. They were alive. They were unharmed. Thunder bounded into the room, his tail wagging. He went to each child in turn, sniffing them gently, his whines soft and comforting. Emma reached out and touched his fur with trembling fingers. "The dog came," she whispered. "I prayed for someone to find us, and the dog came." Mai knelt down, tears streaming down her face. "You're safe now, all of you. You're going home." Sophia began to cry. Lucas's protective stance finally relaxed. Emma wrapped her arms around Thunder's neck and held on as if he were a lifeline. Because he was, Mai called Bradley immediately. "Sir, we have her. Emma is safe. All 3 children are safe and unharmed." She heard Bradley break down on the other end of the line. His sobs of relief echoed through the phone, the sound of a grandfather who had nearly lost everything. Thunder sat among the children, letting them pet him, letting them find comfort in his warm presence. His mission was complete. The innocent were protected. Ranger's legacy was fulfilled. Harrison was arrested that evening trying to board his private jet. The evidence Patricia had provided was irrefutable. 12 co-conspirators were taken into custody across 5 states. The child trafficking ring was dismantled completely. Mai watched the news coverage from the Phoenix FBI office. Harrison's face appeared on screen, his expression no longer confident. He looked old, defeated, broken. Good, Mai thought. That is what a monster looks like when he finally faces justice. 1 year had passed since the Phoenix rescue. Mai stood in her new office on the 3rd floor of the Denver Police Department, looking out at the city she had sworn to protect. The Rocky Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks still capped with the snow despite the spring sunshine. On her desk sat a nameplate that read, Lieutenant Mai Nguyen, Head of Human Trafficking Task Force. She had been promoted twice in 12 months. The task force she now led had rescued 47 children in its first year of operation. Her team, carefully selected and thoroughly vetted, had become the most effective anti-trafficking unit in the western United States. Other departments called for advice. The FBI consulted with her regularly. Mai had transformed her pain into purpose. Thunder lay on his bed in the corner of her office, his gray muzzle resting on his paws. At 7 years old, he had been promoted to senior K-9 status. His days of active patrol were numbered, but his legacy was secured. A portrait of him hung in the department lobby, alongside a plaque that read, Thunder Hero of Denver. Below his portrait hung another picture. Ranger, his brother, forever young in death. Torres and Mitchell had been sentenced to 15 years each for their roles in Harrison's operation. Chief Bradley had resigned 6 months after Emma's rescue. His guilt over nearly protecting his granddaughter's kidnapper too heavy to bear. He now spent his days volunteering at children's shelters, trying to make amends for his failures. Harrison himself had received multiple life sentences. His trial had lasted 3 months. The evidence so overwhelming that even his expensive lawyers could not save him. Patricia Harrison had testified against her husband, her courage finally emerging after years of silence. She had lost her wealth, her status, her position in society, but she had regained something far more valuable, her soul. Mai received letters from the children who had been saved. 23 in total had been recovered from Harrison's network, each one returned to their families or placed in loving foster homes. Every letter sat in a special drawer in Mai's desk, read and reread, whenever she needed reminding why she had fought so hard. Emma Bradley wrote every week. The 8-year-old, now 9, had become Mai's most faithful correspondent. Her letters arrived on pink stationery, decorated with drawings of dogs that looked remarkably like Thunder. Each letter ended the same way. Thank you for listening when no one else would. Thank you for believing in Thunder. Today, Ma had a special appointment. At 3 in the afternoon, a minivan pulled up to the police station. Emma Bradley climbed out, followed by Sophia and Lucas. The three children had formed an unbreakable bond during their captivity, and their families had kept them connected after their rescue. They had come to see Thunder. Mai brought Thunder down to the lobby, where the children waited. The moment Thunder saw them, his tail began wagging so hard his entire body shook. He trotted over to them, his age forgotten in the joy of reunion. Emma dropped to her knees and hugged Thunder tightly. "Hi, hero," she whispered. "I missed you." Sophia and Lucas joined in, their small hands stroking Thunder's fur. The dog closed his eyes in contentment, surrounded by the innocents he had fought to protect. "Officer Mai," Emma said, looking up with her bright blue eyes. "I decided what I want to be when I grow up." "What's that, sweetheart?" "A canine handler, like you. Want to save children, too." Mai felt tears prick her eyes. The circle was complete. From tragedy had come hope. From darkness had emerged light. Later that evening, after the children had gone home, Mai drove Thunder to a familiar place. The Canine Memorial Cemetery sat on a quiet hill overlooking Denver, each grave marker representing a dog who had given their life in service. Ranger's grave was in the back, beneath a tall pine tree. Mai knelt beside the headstone, which read, "Ranger Faithful unto Death." She placed Thunder's medals on the grave, the ones he had received for his role in breaking the trafficking ring. "These belong to you." "Ranger," Mai said softly, "Thunder just finished what you started." Thunder lay down beside his brother's grave, his head resting on the cold earth. His brown eyes closed as he breathed deeply, inhaling the scent of the soil, the pine, the memory of his lost partner. For the first time in 2 years, Thunder slept peacefully. Mai sat beside him, her hand on his back, feeling his steady breathing. The sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. She thought about her journey, from abandoned orphan to decorated officer. She thought about Thunder's journey, from traumatized survivor to celebrated hero. They had both been broken. They had both healed each other. When Mai returned home that night, she pulled into the driveway of her new house. It was a modest home in a quiet suburb, with a large backyard where Thunder could run. She had purchased it 3 months ago with her promotion salary. Inside, warmth and light awaited her. Lily, the 8-year-old girl Mai had adopted from the foster system, sat at the kitchen table doing homework. She looked up when Mai entered and smiled, her dark eyes bright with happiness. "Hi, Mom," she said. "Mom." The words still made Mai's heart swell. Lily had come from a background similar to Mai's own, abandoned, forgotten, alone, when Mai had met her at the children's shelter 6 months ago. She had seen herself in those frightened eyes. The adoption had been finalized last month. The circle was complete. Once an abandoned child who had been saved, Mai was now saving abandoned children of her own. Thunder entered the house and immediately went to Lily, who bent down to hug him. The dog's tail wagged as he licked the girl's face. 6 puppies tumbled out of a side room, yapping and playing. Thunder's offspring, born 3 months ago from a carefully planned breeding program. Each puppy would become a canine officer, continuing Thunder's legacy of service. Their names were Ranger Jr., Hope, Justice, Brave, Truth, and Faith. Mai stood in her kitchen, watching Lily play with Thunder and the puppies outside. Snow had begun to fall gently, coating the yard in white. Inside, the fireplace crackled warmly. This was family, not the family she had been born into, but the family she had chosen. The family that had chosen her back. Mai thought of the old saying her adoptive father used to quote, "Home is not where you are from. Home is where you belong." She belonged here, and finally, after a lifetime of searching, Mai was home. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who refuse to stay silent. Thunder could not speak a single word, yet his voice was the loudest in that snowy December night. He barked when others turned away. He scratched at doors when others walked past. He believed in the truth when the whole world called him wrong. And because one dog refused to give up, 3 children came home to their families. Mai learned something profound through her journey with Thunder. She learned that loyalty is not about following orders blindly, but about protecting what matters most. She learned that family is not always about blood, but about the souls who stand beside you when everyone else abandons you. She learned that the darkest moments of our lives often become the foundation for our greatest purpose. We have all been Thunder at some point in our lives. We have all sensed something wrong when others dismissed our concerns. We have all felt alone in our convictions. And we have all wondered if our voice mattered at all. But here's the truth that Thunder taught us. Your voice matters. Your instincts matter. Your refusal to stay silent in the face of injustice matters more than you will ever know. The world needs more people willing to bark at closed doors. What moment in your life did you trust your instincts when everyone else doubted you? Have you ever been the only one willing to speak up for someone who could not speak for themselves? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.